The everlasting love story of Miriam and Lucas. Miriam had always believed in fairy tales. Growing up, she dreamed of a love so profound it could make time stand still. When she met Lucas, it felt like her dreams had come true. Lucas was charming, intelligent, and kind, everything Miriam had ever wanted in a partner. Their love story was one of laughter, shared dreams, and unwavering support for each other. They met at a charity event in the heart of Lagos, drawn together by a shared love for helping others. Miriam was a volunteer coordinator, and Lucas, an architect, was sponsoring the construction of a community center. What began as a professional collaboration quickly blossomed into a deep connection. Lucas had a way of making even the most ordinary moments feel extraordinary. Whether it was a quiet dinner at home or a spontaneous trip to the beach, he infused every moment with joy. Their relationship grew stronger with each passing day. Lucas often talked about the future, a home they would build together, the children they would raise, the adventures they would share. Miriam clung to those dreams, her heart full of hope and love. 2 years into their relationship, Lucas proposed during a weekend getaway to Obudu Cattle Ranch. As the sun set over the rolling hills, he knelt on one knee, holding out a simple yet elegant ring. "Miriam," he said, his voice filled with emotion, "I can't imagine my life without you. Will you marry me?" Tears filled Miriam's eyes as she nodded, her voice trembling. "Yes, Lucas. 1,000 times, yes." The next few months were a whirlwind of wedding planning and dreams about their future. Their friends and family celebrated their love, calling them the perfect couple. One rainy evening, just weeks before their wedding, Lucas complained of a persistent headache. At first, they both brushed it off as stress from work and wedding preparations. But as the days went on, the headaches worsened, and Lucas began to feel fatigued. Miriam urged him to see a doctor, and after several tests, they received news that shattered their world: Lucas had an aggressive brain tumor. The doctor's words were a blur, and Miriam's mind raced with disbelief. This couldn't be happening, not to Lucas, not to them. They had their whole lives ahead of them. Lucas, ever the optimist, held Miriam's hand and said, "We'll get through this, Miriam. Together." Over the next few months, their lives revolved around treatments and hospital visits. Miriam became Lucas's rock, standing by his side through every painful procedure and sleepless night. She put her own life on hold, pouring all her energy into caring for him. Despite his declining health, Lucas never lost his sense of humor. He would crack jokes to lighten the mood, often saying, "Miriam, don't let me be the reason you stop smiling." Their wedding was postponed indefinitely, but Miriam didn't care. All she wanted was for Lucas to get better. One quiet evening, as they sat together on their balcony, Lucas looked at Miriam with a tenderness that took her breath away. "Miriam," he said, his voice weak but steady, "if I don't make it, promise me you'll keep living. Promise me you'll find happiness again." Miriam's heart broke at his words, but she nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Don't talk like that, Lucas. We are going to beat this." But deep down, she knew time was slipping away. A few weeks later, Lucas's condition worsened. Miriam stayed by his side at the hospital, holding his hand as his breathing grew shallow. He opened his eyes one last time, his gaze locking with hers. "I love you, Miriam," he whispered. "I love you too," she replied, leaning in to kiss him gently. As their lips met, Lucas took his final breath. The days after Lucas's passing were a blur of grief and disbelief. Miriam felt as though her heart had been ripped from her chest. She struggled to imagine a life without Lucas, the man who had been her everything. But she remembered his words, his wish for her to keep living. Slowly, Miriam began to pick up the pieces of her life. She returned to volunteering, pouring her energy into helping others, just as Lucas would have wanted. On what would have been their wedding day, Miriam visited the beach where Lucas had proposed. She stood barefoot in the sand, the waves lapping at her feet, and whispered, "Thank you for loving me, Lucas. I carry you with me always." Though Lucas was gone, his love remained a part of Miriam. She found strength in the memories they had created, in the laughter they had shared, and in the dreams they had dreamed. Years later, Miriam would tell their story to others, not as a tale of heartbreak, but as a testament to the beauty of love, even when it is fleeting. Because love, as Miriam had learned, never truly ends.